Alright guys, it's, what's today? The 11th of February. Time for another video. This time we'll be covering the predictions for the BAFTA Awards, which are tomorrow. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and just run through these. It's the only major awards thing this weekend. We have WGA is next weekend. We'll see how that goes. Just to let you know what I'm thinking over there. I think I do have Manchester by the Sea and Hidden Figures winning over there for their respective categories. Especially since Moonlight, which is the big threat at the Oscars for adapted screenplay. Um, with that, kind of in the original screenplay category, just about everywhere else this year, I think that leaves that spot open. And between that, let's see, Hidden Figures' biggest competition, I think, is at least at the awards at WGA is going to be Arrival, which Denis Villeneuve's films always get tons of love from the Guild Awards. Like Sicario last year, even though it wasn't a huge player at the Oscars, got into just about every last guild, like WGA. I think he was probably on the fringe of getting into to DGA last year for Sicario, and among the other various guilds. So it could still win. I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it for Arrival. I mean, the script is not the strength of that movie. The strength of the movie is the kind of more of the direction and the acting. It's still, I mean, it's still an enthralling story and everything, but the script, as far as the script, as far as like actual dialogue, memorable dialogue, there's maybe one or two good speeches here and there, but that's about it. Otherwise, the dialogue is kind of just your dot 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 dot, fill in the gaps to tell your story kind of dialogue. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about the British Academy Awards. Okay, so we have for Best Picture, or their equivalency is Best Film, I should say. I think La La Land will win this. Let's see, the only other one I think that does have a shot is Arrival, because that is, what is it, the second most nominated film, I believe, alongside Nocturnal Animals. So, yeah, I think Arrival is the second competitor, but I don't think it's going to win. Director, I think, will also go to La La Land for Damien Chazelle. Yeah, after DGA, I mean, he's won everything. I don't think he's going to lose at BAFTA. Let's see here. Best Actor. Of course, the big switch at the Oscars lately has been Denzel coming on strong to potentially win at the Oscars. We won't know for sure until the night of. But anyways, that leaves this open for, I think, for Casey Affleck. I think he will win. The only one stopping him, I think, is Andrew Garfield. He is British, Irish, whatever his original nationality is. But he's a star over there. He was not. I think I'm pretty sure he was nominated for Social Network. He might have even won that because I remember Christian Bale wasn't even nominated that year. And one thing too we have to remember about Denzel, he's never been nominated at BAFTA, and even through his stellar work throughout the years, never even once been nominated at BAFTA. And remember a couple of years ago when we had Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, Chiwetel Ejiofor in 12 Years a Slave, and Leo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, kind of being in a three-man battle there to win the Oscar. McConaughey wasn't even nominated at BAFTA and still won. I mean, he won everything else, and Denzel only has the one win at SAG. But between those two big precursors, Globes and SAG, the one you gotta win is SAG. So, anyways, but I think at BAFTA, I think Manchester by the Sea will get it there with Casey because his film's up for director, it's up for best film, it's up for screenplay, it's up for editing and supporting actress as well. It's got a little bit more support than Hacksaw Ridge does. Best actress, I think this will go to Emma Stone. The only one stopping her again could be Natalie Portman for Jackie, but kind of like at the Oscars, Jackie just didn't have all the support that we thought it would. So I think that's Emma's. For supporting actor, this one actually could be a bit of a crapshoot. I mean, you got Hugh Grant in there. He's beloved. I believe he's already won here before, so it wouldn't be like he's overdue or anything. I still think he's got a decent shot. Dev Patel is in there for Lion. and he's obviously originally from India, but he grew up in Britain land, so he's got that British accent to him. And Lion, I thought it would be in for best film over here, so it doesn't have the support I thought it would. But still, I'm thinking Mahershala Ali, it will be the winner here. I think he will be. And especially, yeah, if he wins this, then I think, yeah, the Oscar's golden for him. But yeah, I think it's down to those three, but I think Mahershala's got the advantage there. And then you think about it too, though. Lion and Florence Foster Jenkins are not up for Best Film. Moonlight is. Supporting actress, that'll line up with Viola. I think that's easily said, easily done. Moving over to adapted screenplay, I am taking a gamble on this one. Nobody else is picking it, not from what I've seen. I'm going with Nocturnal Animals on this. I was looking at all the different categories. I'm thinking Nocturnal, it's got, I believe I counted right, 9 nominations. It's not going to win for director, not going to win for actor, not going to win for, at least I don't think it's going to win for any of those technical categories. It's got to win something, right, with 9 nominations. BAFTA usually does spread the wealth a little bit more. So even if Oscar doesn't, like I'm thinking back to 2013 when you had your big 3 films that year were 12 Years a Slave, Gravity, and American Hustle. American Hustle went home empty-handed. I'm thinking Nocturnal. It's got to go home with something. So I think they'll award it adapted screenplay, mainly because Arrival. I think Arrival and Lion are kind of the two that everybody's talking about in this category. They say it'll come down to those two. I don't think so. I mean, Lion for me personally, just a personal preference here, might be factoring in a little bit. So I'll caution you on that. But for me, Arrival, I don't think was all that strong a script. Lion wasn't all that strong a script. Nocturnal Animals has a little, between those three, probably has some of the more memorable lines and stuff. And plus, it's a way to personally award Tom Ford, who's also nominated for director and so on. Versus, Arrival, I don't think it's going to be a huge player over here at BAFTA, even though it does have a ton of nominations. You'd just be awarding Eric Heisner, I think is his name, or whatever his last name is. He's not the writer. He's not the director. He's not nominated anywhere else at BAFTA. Whereas Denis, his only shot is for director, and he's not going to win. Anyways, one thing to keep in mind: if Hidden Figures, which I think does have a shot at taking down Moonlight at the Oscars, at least for adapted screenplay. If Hidden Figures wins here and at WGA, that's a big sign that we know what's going to go ahead. So Hidden Figures actually, I think, does have a little bit of an outside shot. The only thing, of course, that we have to keep in mind, this is the only nomination for Hidden Figures. I just don't think they're going to go for it. But that's just an outside shot that might happen, so I'll mention it. For original screenplay, God, this is going to be tough. Kind of like at the Oscars, too. It's either Manchester or La La Land. It's one of those two. I don't think we also do have I, Daniel Blake and Moonlight nominated here, and Hell or High Water are the other 3 to fill out the category. But especially since Moonlight is adapted at the Oscars and stuff, I don't know. And plus, it's the best film nominee with the least nominations outside of that category. Didn't get in for director, didn't get in for any of the technical stuff. I, Daniel Blake has the best British film, so that's got a little more clout to it, if you will. And then Hell or High Water also does not have very much support other than a cinematography and a Best Supporting Actor nom. That's all it got over here. So it's, and then Manchester and La La La, of course, are nominated for Best Film, among other things. And, I think, there's a decent shot that La La Land still wins this thing, but I'm just going to go with Manchester by the Sea by default. But I could be absolutely wrong about that. Okay, cinematography, I think that'll go to La La Land. Costume design is also going to go to La La Land. I also have production design going to La La Land. Here we go. Film editing will go to La La Land. Original score will go to La La Land. Makeup and hairstyling is kind of an interesting one here. This is actually one people say, a few things online are saying, Nocturnal Animals actually does have a little bit of an outside shot here, but I mean, it's, and then you got the other nominees are Florence Foster Jenkins, Rogue One, Hacksaw Ridge, and Doctor Strange. I think between these 5, I think Nocturnal's probably in last place, actually, because, obviously, Gyllenhaal's got a beard, but there's not a whole bunch of other big makeup or anything here. Florence Foster has a little bit. Hacksaw has a little bit. Rogue One has a few, but most of those are CGI anyways. And then Doctor Strange, yeah, has a little bit of makeup to it too. So yeah, Florence Foster is my official prediction here, though. Okay, and believe it or not, that's actually almost to the end here. We've only got a couple more categories. Animated feature, I didn't get to that one yet. Zootopia will win that one, though. Pretty easy one there. So that just leaves sound and visual effects. Sound, I think, will go to La La Land. And visual effects, I think, will line up with The Jungle Book. And it did just win, Jungle Book just won the Visual Effects Guild, their big award for outstanding effects in an effects-driven film. I think that's how they word it. I think that'll be that one. Let's see, we can mention, there's a couple of awards that, of course, are very specific to BAFTA, and those are Best British Film, a category you will never see at the Oscars, and Rising Star. And let's see, for Rising Star, we'll start with that one. I think that one will go to Lucas Hedges. I think he was snubbed of a nomination here. You'll note I don't use that word very often because it's a lot of other people say snub all over the place. I try to save it because anyways, you get my point. Let's see, but I think this one actually there's a shot because you got four competitors here who have really strong work this year. Like Tom Holland, I think is according to a few votes the favorite. Of course, he broke out with Civil War, playing the new Spider-Man, and he did a great job in it and everything. You got Anya Taylor-Joy, who was great in The Witch, really good in Split more recently. And then you got Ruth Negga in here as well, who, of course, got Oscar nominated for Loving, and I think deservedly so. She was phenomenal in that. I have it going to Lucas Hedges mainly because he's not nominated here. Well, Ruth isn't either. I thought she would actually get in because she does hail from Britain land, I believe. I might be wrong about that. I always get that. I can never get the nationalities right. Like I've been saying all year long that Lucas Hedges is British. He's not. He's from the U.S. And I might even still be wrong. I just got to shut up when I talk about where they're from. Unless it's obvious, like a Hugh Grant or somebody like that. The most British man in Britain, I'll bet. Anyways, but yeah, I have Lucas Hedges winning this, but not confidently. Not confidently. And then Best British Film, I think that's a gimme for I, Daniel Blake. It's the only one of these. They have 6 nominees in this category. Only one of the 6 to really be a big threat in any other category. To have multiple nominations. I think Fantastic Beasts does as well, but that's not going to win this. No. It's not like Skyfall won this a few years ago. That one, that was one that had multiple nominations. I believe was up for Best Film. I might be wrong about that. But it had like supporting actor, supporting actress. It wasn't in for screenplay, but it was, very, very popular film over there. Then the documentary category, they do not have OJ nominated. I don't think it was eligible. I don't know for sure. Maybe they did just not like it. But that one I think will go to the film that's going to get a lot of second place votes, I'm sure, at the Oscars too, and that's 13th. But there is a documentary out there, The Beatles, 8 Days a Week. I think that one has a genuine shot at winning too, but I haven't heard as much buzz on that as I have on 13th, so I think I'll stick with 13th there. Then Best Foreign Language Film, Son of Saul was not eligible here last year. It is eligible this year. I think it'll win. But it's also going up against Tony Erdmann and another nominee from last year, which is Mustang, nominee at the Oscars, I should say. But since Son of Saul won at the Oscars last year, won everywhere else, like Golden Globes and everywhere else, I think that one will follow suit there. Yeah. So yeah, this was a quick one, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's going to be a lot of La La Land love again here. Let's see. Let me count them back up here. So I've got 3, 4, 5. Oh, I lost count already. Shit. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 wins for it. That'll be pretty close to, I think, what it's going to get at the Oscars. Right now I have it down for 10 at the Oscars, which would beat out West Side Story as the most wins for any musical ever at the Oscars. You have to remember, not Sound of Music. What was I saying? West Side Story only lost screenplay that year. It was up for adapted screenplay at the Oscars. That was the only category it lost for. And yeah, depending on how BAFTA goes tomorrow on screenplay, original screenplay, I should say, and how WGA goes. If WGA gives it to La La Land, I think it's over. If it can topple both Manchester and Moonlight, I think that's done. If La La Land wins tomorrow at BAFTA, which it could, I happen to think that the Manchester by the Sea, it's kind of like it's got a little bit more of a European style to it, just as a film. The way it just kind of ends on a note that's kind of like, basically any scene in the last 20 minutes of that movie could be the final scene, but then it just kind of picks one to end on. Um, I don't know. That's maybe some people might disagree with that statement, but anyways, it's got like I said, a little bit more of a European style to it. Kenneth Lonergan, I think he's been nominated here before. I have to look up how many other times. I think he's got a few more nominations under his belt than Damien does, and plus, if they're thinking the way uh, that sometimes they do, both at Oscars and at BAFTA, when they want to spread the wealth a little bit, they say, okay, well, we know Damien's going to win director, and the Oscars are thinking the same way. We know that he's going to win director, so shouldn't and we know La La Land's going to win all this and all this and all this. Manchester by the Sea, it's one of the big three this year where it got into everything. It's up for everything it can basically be, and it's been a strong. It was at one point considered maybe an early front runner after Birth of a Nation totally crapped out. So, and before La La Land really took center stage as that front runner. So, you'd think they got to give it something here, but we have to keep in mind, it only went home with one Golden Globe out of 6 nominations, went home empty-handed at the, wait, did it only have 5 at the Globes? Anyway, regardless, it only won once, went home empty-handed at SAG. So there's, and I do have a sinking feeling where it, after it got all the nominations, that might have been when it peaked because it missed out for editing. I think that was the only award I had it not getting nominated for at the Oscars that didn't happen. Everything else happened. Thank God for Lucas Hedges, or else I would have been still upset to this day. But I think it should have probably been in there for editing, among other maybe some other things. But like cinematography wasn't a good bet. Wasn't going to happen for visual effects or anything like that. But still, I get that feeling where, especially after SAG, where it's like, well, it's kind of like the balloon's deflated for all the buzz on the movie. And plus now with Casey losing that SAG and potentially losing the Oscar too, that's just not a good sign for the movie as a whole. So yeah, we'll keep a very close eye on this. The thing is, this is going to be my big question. What happens if tomorrow at BAFTA Manchester by the Sea wins and then WGA ends up going to La La Land for this category? If that happens, I'm just going to have to stick with what WGA says and go with La La Land on there. I hate to have to follow like sheep here, but my intuition is telling me Manchester, for me personally, I think Manchester is a stronger screenplay. The dialogue is masterfully written on the level of a Pulitzer Prize winning play. It's excellent. I just happen to prefer Manchester by the Sea as a film to La La Land, but they're both excellent movies. Both really great movies. But I just think the writing is on a whole nother level in Manchester versus La La Land, where it's kind of, La La Land's still a good script and everything, and Damien Chazelle is a fantastic writer. Probably should have won that award a couple of years ago for Whiplash in the original screenplay, but he ended up getting nominated for adapted. The same thing happened with Moonlight this year. But that all being said, La La Land's script, it's not really, aside from maybe a couple lines here and there, it doesn't have as strong a dialogue, doesn't have, all that. And plus with Manchester, especially, I might have to reiterate this, but since Casey is now very much at risk at losing that Oscar, it's going to be the last shot for Manchester. Nobody's going to topple Viola. I don't think Lucas has enough energy and enough momentum to topple Mahershala. If he had won at SAG, maybe that would have been a really good bellwether. But it's not going to win director, definitely not going to win picture at this rate. So yeah, and with Casey potentially going out the window too, this will be the last shot to award Manchester. So yeah, that's what my intuition tells me. That's what I'm going to stick with until I see a lot further evidence pointing toward La La Land. All right. In the meantime, that's all I got for you now. We'll probably do I don't have the capability or the I'm just not able to watch the actual awards show for BAFTA. So I'll just have to just kind of do a video as soon as the awards are over. And of course, they are way overseas, so it's going to be much earlier here than most of these award shows end. So it should be up at a pretty decent time tomorrow as well. So yeah, we'll catch you guys after BAFTA.